Hey guys, welcome to another video. Thanks for joining me on this one. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the CV requirements which you will need to submit if you're applying for the TUI program in January. I have been bringing this to the awareness of the community, and just so that you know that we are slowly approaching, that window in which you will have to submit that CV and of course go through the application. But here's something that I want you guys to always keep in mind. You don't want to wait until the application opens up before you start working on your CV. Your CV should be almost ready by now, or at least you should be working on it. And the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because the CV is one of the important aspects of your application that, in as much as you can get through the first 3 stages, but when you get to the 3rd stage of that assessment process with TUI, it may be the reason why you get disqualified. And I'm going to give you a good example. There are times in which you will put in this application, and because guess what, the interviewer, or in this case the person, the recruiter looking at your CV, may honestly lose track of the CVs that they look through, because they go through a lot of CVs, and you may get through the 1st stage, get through the 2nd stage, get to the 3rd stage, but when you get to the stage where you meet with an interviewer, guess what? Your CV is going to be with them, or at least they will look through your CV. And if your CV doesn't really do a good job describing your competencies, your abilities, or your qualifications, well, it may be the reason why you won't be able to progress to the final stage. Now, I would like to show you something on the TUI page, and this is something that I kind of just took a screenshot of it so that I could highlight some things for you. Now, one of the things that you want to think about as you work on your CV is that you want to think about some of the pilot competencies, or think about transferable skills that would help you to at least stand out when they look at your CV. Now, what is TUI looking for? Okay, in the applicants, they're looking for people that are committed, that are resilient, hardworking, okay, people that are able to stay excited or passionate about the career. But also we have the pilot competencies, and we talk about this a lot. People with great communication skills, leadership skills, ability to remain calm under pressure, resilience to work hard throughout a challenging course, in this case your training and even the career itself, and of course motivation to learn and develop the highly skilled professional pilots, and in this case people that can develop into those highly skilled professional pilots. And that is important in this process. But one thing that you also need to keep in mind is that your motivation goes a long way, your values goes a long way. And how do you communicate that to your to TUI, or to the recruiter that will be looking at your CV? Well, it's going to be through your CV you state those things. And this is why your CV is really important. Now, there are things that I want to touch on in this video that I think you should start thinking about. The first one is your passion. Start thinking about your passion for motivation, why you think this is the career for you. It's important that you are actually true to yourself in this process, because if you're not, well, it will eventually become evident that this is not really what you want. And you don't want to put in all this work and find out later on down the line that this is not what you want. And of course, TUI will be sponsoring your program, and even though you would have to pay back some of the cost of training, it's still important for them to know that you are actually passionate about the career as a pilot. The other thing also is you need to think about your motivation as well. And your passion and motivation can kind of go hand in hand, but they're both important. And if you do have that motivation, how do you then communicate it in your CV? You need to have ways in which you can bring those values or those qualities of yours, in this case your motivation, your passion about aviation. You need to be able to find a way to bring it into your CV and demonstrate, or at least show that you have those qualities. The other thing that you think about is your qualifications and your achievements. Okay, this is important. Like, there are certain requirements that you need to meet in order to apply for this opportunity, but you also need to think about what are the qualifications that you have that could potentially make you stand out. And Example of qualifications could be your degrees, could be your awards, could be the achievements that you've maybe gotten at the job or at work, or things that you've done even on your own. Maybe you took some courses or some classes in aviation that can also help to show that you are, again, passionate or motivated about a career as a pilot. The other thing to not exclude in all of this is if you have some aviation experiences or some aviation, maybe you're part of an aviation organizations, think about ways to bring those into your CV. Now, one thing that you don't want to do is to have a long CV, but that doesn't really highlight those competencies or doesn't highlight those experiences, doesn't really have transferable skills to the job you're applying for. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make. Some people make it CV that is 3 pages long, 2 pages long. Why? You're not applying for, you need to think about a realistic way in which a recruiter will look at your CV. Your CV is only going to be spent with the recruiter is only going to look at your CV for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes at most to really decide, okay, if this person should move to the next stage or not. And if you have a 3-page CV or a 2-page CV, it's already too much information. And trust me, majority of that information could have been condensed down to a page. And that's what you want to do. If you end up having a long CV that drags out, that just throws words on it and has no meaning, then it won't really help. And that's where, I always encourage that you find maybe a service or someone that you can trust and you know that they have the good knowledge of how to just look at your CV and give you some good feedback, then that's where that comes in. The other thing to think about is, do you have the ability to tie the things you've done, your experiences, with the pilot competencies? Like I mentioned earlier, pilot competencies. So in this case, if you have a job in the past, or if you've had a job in the past, think about some of the skills that you can highlight from those jobs and then tie them to some of the competencies as a pilot. So for example, if you've worked at a customer service job before, that is a good type of job in which you can pull a lot of competencies from, whether it's communication, whether it's leadership, whether it's customer service. All right, you can tap into those information to highlight that you have some of the skills. But how do you do that? You do that with the TAR, which is task, action, and then results. So think about your CV when you're writing your experiences, especially in the experiences part. Think about the task you did, think about the actions you took, and think about the results that you got. And make sure that this is all in context of a competency as a pilot. Okay, and this is something that I think I've covered in the past again, so I'm not going to, go over this way too much, but that's the whole idea. If you worked at a customer service position in the past, then think about, okay, what were the tasks that you were required to complete? What were the actions you took? Okay, and so look for action words or verbs that you can always put in there to show an effective, to make it more effective and concise. Okay, and then what results did you get? If possible, try to put in those results. Then next thing is, think about the charity organizations that you've been part of or volunteer activities that you've done in the past. Those will go a long way in showing that you are just not someone that thinks about themselves. You also care about the world or care about other people. It's important. Then the other thing to also keep in mind is your hobbies and interests. This can go a long way because if you have certain interests that shows that you like to maybe build things, or you are part of a group that is doing something good, then it is worth mentioning. Talking about hobbies, if you're the type of person that likes to do some things in aviation, maybe you like to build things or you like to work on things, these are all skills that could help to just showcase that you have the ability to potentially be a good pilot. Now, the last but not least recommendation I want to give to you in this video is that find an organization, find a person that you can have review your CV. The reason why this is important is, again, you don't want to find out down the line that your CV was one of the reasons why you couldn't make it through to the next stage. The other thing also is that I've been thinking of actually doing something of that nature in which I provide a service. But again, I'm just the only one, so it's hard to provide service to say 100 people, 200 people. But if you guys are interested in something like that and you want me to actually maybe create a service for that people can actually maybe put in your CV, and I'll be able to review, and I'll sit down one-on-one with you to tell you maybe some things you can work on, things you can improve, or what you can correct or change. That's something that I'm willing to do. But of course, it's going to be limited to a set number of people because I can't do it for everybody. And that's why I'm sharing this with you all, to let you know that, hey, even though I'm willing to do it, I can't do it for everybody. And that's why I would encourage that you take that step yourself. And I will try to come up with maybe a service so that people can actually take use of this opportunity, because I talk about this on my channel anyway, so why don't I? So anyway, it's just something I thought of. I thought about sharing this with you guys because I will still eventually do, hopefully, maybe some lives or actually some videos talking about examples of CVs and how you can, work on your competencies and put them together while you make your CV for this opportunity that is coming up. I hope you guys will continue to stay prepared and stay ready. I'd love to see you in the next video.